Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Fiyta Space Shuttle watch. This watch is available from Kickstarter.com for $249, which is €239. Fiyta are a well-established Chinese brand. They were founded in 1987. In 2003, Fiyta became the official supplier to the Chinese space program, so Chinese astronauts wear Fiyta watches. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in a cardboard watch box, which is protected by this white cardboard outer sleeve. You remove the sleeve, and as you can see, very aesthetically pleasing, glossy finish to the watch box, and we have Fiyta in gilt on the hinge lid. Hinge lid on the left has a ribbon, and that prevents the hinge lid opening too far. And in the underside of the hinge lid, we have Fiyta in gilt, and on the lid to the compartment on the right, we have Fiyta embossed. The base is fully upholstered with an aesthetically pleasing black velour fabric to a good standard, and in the left-hand portion of the base we have a cutout which houses the black padded pillow cushion, and the padded pillow cushion is also upholstered with black velour fabric to a good standard. So good presentation, bearing in mind this is a low-tier piece costing €239. So there's a ribbon you pull up and you can remove the lid to the compartment, and I'll show the items that it houses in the compartment in the base. So with the watch you get this Fiyta tag, and as you can see it has a QR code, so you can scan the QR code with your iPhone or Android, and that will download more information about Fiyta watches and also this piece, the Space Shuttle watch. On the reverse we have a barcode for the piece and the reference number of the piece. The Space Shuttle watch is available in a plethora of dial colour options. This is the black version, and in my opinion I think it's the best looking option, but on Kickstarter.com you can see the various options for the colours. With the watch you also get this owner's instruction manual, which is in the form of a fold-out leaflet. Now the negative of this owner's instruction manual is it is printed in Mandarin. It's not translated into English, and I would like to see Fiyta update this and translate it into English, which would be more useful, because unless you speak Mandarin this is useless. But however, on a positive note, it does have QR codes. You can scan the QR codes with your iPhone or Android and therefore download information about the watch, the owner's instruction manual and the terms and conditions of the international warranty. Now I'm pleased to report that the Space Shuttle watch we're going to be looking at is covered by a 2-year international warranty, which is very good. This is the warranty card, and on the reverse there's a space for it to be filled in by who it was sold by, for example the authorised dealer, date of purchase, model number and serial number of the piece. And lastly, you also get this card, and on the reverse it details the contact information for Fiyta watches, their website for example, and their phone number. So good presentation. I like the watch box. I think it's very aesthetically pleasing, and this is an example to other low-tier Chinese brands of how to get the presentation correct at the price point of €239. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, we have a 45mm case diameter. We have a lug-to-lug measurement of 41mm, a thickness of 14.7mm and a lug width of 20mm. The black silicone rubber strap tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to the stainless steel buckle and tang. The buckle is signed to a good standard with the Fiyta logo engraved, as you can see. Nice profiling to the buckle, nice heavy gauge to the 316L grade stainless steel, no sharp edges, no burrs. It's been deburred and chamfered to a good standard. I like the curved profile to the buckle, and I like the gauge of it. Beautiful brush satin finishing to it on the top side, underside and flanks, which has a beautiful lustre, so it's well finished and a good quality buckle and tang. So we have a double dome sapphire crystal. Now it has a very interesting profile. It's a very high dome, but it's got a flat top. In the centre section we have a dual time display, and this is meant to represent the black hole in space. And you have two hands, one for the minute hand, one for the hour hand, and the hour hand in the second time display corresponds with the digital register. As you can see, it's now on 12 in red for 12 o'clock, and the hour hand is also pointing to 60, or the 12 o'clock position, and the minute hand is now pointing at 18 minutes, so it's now 12:18. So the digital display at the base also matches the hour hand, and I'll demonstrate that when we do the time setting position. Now internally, beneath the double dome sapphire crystal with AR coating, The internals are made from polymer, and the polymer has an anthracite or graphite tone to it, has a metallic sheen, very aesthetically pleasing. So the polymer internal section is screwed down to the movement, which is based on the Miyota caliber 8215 automatic by 6 flathead screws. 3 flathead screws on the left, 3 flathead screws on the right. And we've also got a 3D effect to a silver pointer at 6 o'clock, as you can see, and that points to the digital display for the hours of the dual time display. So very clean design on the polymer internals because we simply have Fiyta automatic, no unnecessary specifications such as the water resistance rating, just Fiyta automatic, and I like the lack of extra text. I think it's nice and clean. Now, the internal polymer section of it is meant to represent a space shuttle, and as I've detailed in the centre, it's meant to represent the black hole. So the watch itself is meant to look like a space shuttle in space, and it is a very interesting design. I like the profile of the double dome sapphire crystal. The AR coating does work very well to reduce the glare and the highly reflective nature of these stainless steel hands in the centre section. And I also like the flat profile to the centre because it does reduce the thickness of the piece. It is very tall at 14.7 millimeters thick, but nice flat profile to the centre is something I haven't seen before on a high double dome sapphire crystal. So good clarity, good legibility, and I like the AR coating. It does work very well. The flat centre section also does improve the legibility because when you look straight on at the black hole in the centre or the dual time display, it does improve the legibility of it. It reduces the reflection. The case is entirely made from solid 316L grade stainless steel. So the bezel is mirror polished and it has a domed profile to the bezel as opposed to being a flat profile. Flawless mirror polishing to the bezel. The head of the piece on the flanks is also flawless mirror polished, and that contrasts because on the edge of the flanks we've also got a ring around the case which is brush satin finished longitudinally. So the brush satin finishing adds interest to the flanks. Nice curved undercut to the flanks of the case which reduces the meat of the 316L grade stainless steel. It does reduce the heft. This piece is very light. For a large piece, it's 45 millimeters diameter. It is only 90 grams on this silicone rubber strap. So nice curved undercut and nice curved profile to the lugs, and the lug sits beneath the diameter of the case, so it's got a relatively short lug to lug measurement of only 41 millimeters. So although it is large at 45 millimeters diameter, the lug to lug is compact, it's only 41, and therefore this will fit you even if you have a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches. So nice snug fit with the silicone rubber strap underneath the head of the piece, and it's a good snug fit in the lugs which have a curved profile to them. So I'll show you the case back. The case back is pressed on rather than being a screw down case back, and it provides an effective hermetic seal to 30 meters, which is perfectly acceptable for a daily wear piece. It's glazed with sapphire crystal, and this is interesting because often Chinese low-tier brands use mineral crystal glazing in exhibition casebacks because it's a cost-cutting measure. Mineral crystal is less expensive than sapphire crystal. In the front of a piece, you need to have sapphire crystal because it's prone to being scuffed and scratched. But in an exhibition caseback, mineral crystal is acceptable because rubbing against your wrist isn't going to scuff and scratch the glazed portion of the exhibition caseback. So I think it would have been acceptable to use mineral crystal as a cost-cutting measure, but they've glazed it with sapphire crystal, so that's very good specification. Now personally I prefer to see a screwed down exhibition caseback because that would provide an effective hermetic seal to 50 meters, but one has to appreciate this is a daily wear piece. We're not looking at a dive watch, and therefore having 30 meters does mean they could use a thinner sapphire crystal. Now if you look at the profile of it, because it's only 30 meters of water resistance, it's very thin. The stainless steel portion of the exhibition caseback is low profile, it's not a bubble back caseback, and the center section, which is glazed with sapphire crystal, is very flat and very low profile. So that does help to reduce the thickness of the piece because it is a very tall piece. It's very thick at 14.7. But mirror polishing is very good to the exhibition caseback. The stainless steel portion of it is engraved with high definition engraving. The specification 30 meters water resistant, and it states that it's a stainless steel case. So it's also got the serial number of the piece, and I think it's very good. The quality of the finishing is good, no sharp edges, no burrs to the exhibition caseback, and the benefit of having a flat glazed sapphire crystal is it's very smooth and flat. It's very comfortable to wear against the wrist. So, silicone rubber strap, uses quick release stainless steel spring bars, and Fiyta deserve credit because they could have used standard spring bars, but it can be difficult to remove silicone rubber straps when they're of a tight fit internally in lugs like this without much clearance for a spring bar tool. So the quick release spring bars negate the need for a spring bar tool, and it makes it easy to remove the strap. Very soft silicone rubber strap, and as you can see, it's embossed with Fiyta. Quality of the finishing is very good. It's very smooth on the underside, plenty of holes in the strap, so this will fit from a 6-inch wrist to an 8-inch wrist. There's enough holes to allow for the minimum 6 inches and the maximum 8 inches. Very soft and supple, so unlike a natural rubber or FKM fluoro rubber strap, it doesn't feel stiff, it's not going to require any breaking in, and it's got a nice taper. It's thicker around the spring bar end, and then it gradually tapers down to the buckle and tang. So at the buckle and tang end, it's very thin, soft and supple, and I think it's very comfortable to wear on wrist. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, pleasant surprise, the strap is long enough to fit my 8-inch wrist. Often it's the case, and you'll know this from my previous reviews, that straps on watches are a fraction too short for my large 8-inch wrist, but as you can see, there is enough length to engage the end of the strap in the 2 sliding keepers, and the keepers have plenty of meat. They're nice and wide, so they're going to be durable and robust. They're going to last for a good length of time. So good length on the strap, and again, we have 2 spare holes, so this would actually fit a slightly larger wrist than 8 inches. But as you can see, correct lug width, 20mm with a slight taper on the silicone rubber strap means the strap looks well proportioned on the large 45mm head of the piece. So, very tall piece, does wear with wrist presence, and it's clearly best suited to collectors with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches. If you're a collector with a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches, you may find 45mm to have too much wrist presence and it be too large on the wrist for comfort. Now, the surprising thing is it doesn't feel like a top-heavy piece, despite being very tall on wrist at 14.7mm thick. The flat exhibition caseback means it does sit very snug to the wrist, and it's got a nice curved undercut to the flanks of the case, and that means it does fit very snugly. There's no large gap beneath the tips of the lugs, and the end of the silicone rubber strap at the spring bar end does pull tightly to the wrist. So it does fit very smoothly and very close to the wrist, but it does have a very large high dome to the double dome sapphire crystal, even though it does have that flat center section above the black hole dual time register. So tall piece on wrist, but doesn't feel top heavy, and also very light because it's only 90 grams. And anything below 150 grams is the sweet spot for comfort for you to wear a piece for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. So at 90 grams, it feels very weightless on wrist. The silicone rubber strap is very comfortable, very smooth, soft and supple, and I like it. I also like the buckle and tang with brushed satin finishing, signed with Fiyta. Nice profile to it. So comfortable piece, but definitely suited to collectors with a larger wrist due to the 45mm. It is large. So if you enjoy wrist presence, if you like pieces that dominate the wrist, this will suffice. It will give you satisfaction. And 41mm is compact, so it does have a short case, but also large case. So nice piece to look at. The clarity is good, legibility is good due to the AR coating, and the flat center section is good because it reduces the reflection on the black hole dual time register. You can read the hour and minute hand clearly, and also looking at it at an oblique angle, you can read the digital display in the base. So good legibility. And aesthetically pleasing. It does look like an interesting piece, something different. So let's test the crown execution. Now, this uses a push-pull crown rather than a screw-down crown. The push-pull crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 30 meters of water resistance, which is perfectly acceptable for a daily wear piece, same as the exhibition caseback. Knurled finish to it, solid 316L grade stainless steel. No sharp edges, it's nicely chamfered and deburred, so the knurling is very grippy and tactile. You can get good purchase on it with your index finger and thumb to manually wind it, or alternatively pull it out and set the time. And it's nicely finished with the knurling. It's also signed with an engraved F for Fiyta, and the mirror polished domed cap to it is also well finished, so no sharp edges to it, correctly proportioned. Now it does project quite far from the top right of the case, as you can see, And one could say that it could be recessed slightly, or alternatively they could have scaled down the proportion of it. But the benefit of it being large is that you can get a good grip of it. I think it would look more aesthetically pleasing had they used the recessed crown, which would have sat underneath the undercut, as you can see, because it does have a rather large projection from the flank of the case, and I think it would look more aesthetically pleasing. Because this is a perfect circular case, I think they should have recessed the crown, and then you could pull it out to set the time, or alternatively manually wind it. But that's the design of it. So, as it's a push-pull crown, one can manually wind the movements. Now, this is a modified Miyota caliber 8215 automatic. And as you can see, they've modified it by mounting two hands on the cannon pinion, one for the hour hand, one for the minute hand, and they've also driven off the cannon pinion a second digital display. So this digital display matches the hours on the hour hand position. There is no second hand, that's the thing to note. So, in the closed position, one can manually wind the Miyota caliber 8215 automatic to its maximum 42-hour power reserve. Now, although it's modified, it does feel exactly the same as a standard Miyota 8215. There's no discernible difference. It's got that characteristic medium firm resistance. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up. Now, the negative of it being based on the 8215 is the 8215 is a date complication piece, and therefore in the first click position we have a phantom date setting position. And although there is no date wheel beneath the polymer internals, when you rotate the crown, you can still hear and also feel the date complication clicking over, because the date complication is still present beneath the polymer internals of the watch, the dial effectively. So although there's no date window and no date wheel, you can actually feel the mechanism of it. You can feel the quick set complication clicking over to the next day of the month. So we do have that phantom date setting position in the first click. Pulling it out to the second click position hacks the movements. Although there's no second hand, you can't see that it's hacked. It does actually have hacking, still present. And we're now in the time setting position. So if you look closely, you can see the silver pointer, which is 3D effect, that points to the digital display. So we're now at 1 for 1 o'clock. And if you look at the slimmer hand, you can see that corresponds. When I rotate the crown anti-clockwise, we're now advancing the time. We're going from 5 to 6 o'clock, to 7 o'clock, to 8 o'clock, to 9 o'clock, and so on. And this hand in the black hole, the center section of the dial, effectively, it registers the same hour hand position as on the digital display. So you can read the hour hand, you can read the hours with the digital numerals at the base at 10 o'clock, or you can also look at the hour hand, which is the thicker one of the two hands. Now, the minute hand is registering 60 minutes at the moment. I'll move it round to 30. So, for example, we're now looking at 10:30. So you can see the silver pointer at 6 o'clock is now in between the 10 and the 11 o'clock digital display. So it's 10:30. If you look at the two hands in the black hole, you can see the larger, the thicker one of the two stainless steel hands is now pointing at the 10 o'clock position. The slimmer hand, the minute hand, is now pointing at the 30-minute mark. So it's now 10:30 or 10:30. Now, this is difficult to read because the two hands are silver. They're brushed satin finished stainless steel in the black hole. I think that Fiyta could improve upon this. They could have loomed the hands, or alternatively simply painted one of the hands, the minute hand, red, for example, or loom it with BGW9 or C3, or paint it with white paint, because then you would be able to immediately register or differentiate between the hour and minute hand, because although the hour hand is wider, the minute hand is more slender. They are similar lengths, and it can be difficult to sometimes immediately tell, are you looking at the hour or are you looking at the minute? So if they painted the minute hand red, for example, or white, you'd immediately look at it and say, okay, the red hand is now pointing at 30 minutes. It's 10:30. Now, with the hours, I think they could have fully loomed them, or alternatively painted all of the Arabic numerals in the digital register red, because if I cycle through, 12 is the only Arabic numerals which are painted in red. The red contrasts very well on the anthracite background, and it's very aesthetically pleasing, but it also improves the legibility. So they could have fully loomed the Arabic numerals. Alternatively, they could have painted all the numerals in red, because the red does contrast very well. The legibility of the red is good. The legibility of the white Arabic numerals is okay, but on the anthracite background, it is quite dark. So I think they could have improved on the legibility by painting the hands in the black hole different colours for the hour and minute hand, and also using red Arabic numerals throughout rather than just the 12 for 12 o'clock. But it does add interest to it, and the 12 is very good. The legibility is good. So difficult to read the time, could be improved upon, but in terms of design, it is aesthetically pleasing, and it's nice to have the dual time register. You can either read the hour and minutes of the black hole register, or simply look at it at the front at an oblique angle and read the hour of the Arabic numerals on the scale on the digital register. So two different ways of reading the time. It's a shame there's no second hand on the Canon pinion. That would add interest to it, but of course it's modified and they've had to drive the digital register off the Canon pinion, so they can't have three hands on it. I think they could improve upon it by painting them, but other than that, the legibility is okay. So pushing it back in restarts the movement, and although it has hacking, you can't see it, it will now be running it again. So good to manually wind, smooth to set the time, but I think there's room for improvement with regards to the legibility. So let's discuss the movement used. This is a modified Miyota caliber 8215 automatic, which is made in Japan. Now, it's an undecorated movement, it's sterile, but Fiyta have decorated the movement by signing it. It's engraved with Fiyta, and it simply says 21 joules, but it really is just a sterile Miyota 8215 rotor with Fiyta engraved. There's no decoration to the movement. This is a disappointment really, because at €239 I would like to see a higher grade of Miyota caliber, such as a 9000 series. They could have used a modified 9015 for example, rather than the 8215. The 8215 is an 8000 series, and therefore it is a base model rather than a premium 9000 series Miyota caliber. It's a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement made in Japan. It has 21 joules and it runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. It has hand winding and hacking, which is used for complications, but of course we don't have a second hand, so we don't really get the benefit of the hacking because you can't see where the second hand is. There is no second hand on the Canon pinion. 42-hour power reserve is perfectly acceptable, and the negative of it is it has a phantom date setting position, because the 8215 is a date complication piece, as I've detailed. And of course, we don't have a date wheel. There's no date wheel beneath the polymer internals, although the date complication is still present. They haven't deleted it. So you do get that first click phantom date setting position when you pull out the crown, and that is the negative. You can feel the dates clicking over. The stated accuracy of the 8215 is -20 to +40 seconds per day. So a rather wide accuracy range, -20 to +40. However, I want to give credit to Fiyta because they're doing a good job of regulating the 8215 they're using, which is modified. This one is running consistently at +8 seconds per day. So +8 is well within the stated accuracy of -20 to +40, and it's good enough. I think it could be better improved if this piece used the Miyota 9000 series, such as the 9015, and therefore it could run at chronometer grade accuracy of ±5 seconds per day. And of course, it's a better quality movement. It's decorated with milled stripes on the bridges, and it's just a better looking movement, as well as being higher quality materials, better build quality, quality control. So this price point, the 8215, is okay. But I think a 9015 would make it better value and better quality. So that's something Fiyta could consider. They could upgrade the 8215 to a modified 9015. And of course the benefit is it would have more accuracy, and also just the quality would be better. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So low tier piece, the price point is $249, which is €239. I'm going to declare it excellent quality, and I'm going to say the value is okay. I'm not going to declare the value as good or excellent because of the movement. I think it's a disappointment. It's a cost-cutting measure too far. This really needs a Miyota 9015 premium grade of movements at €239 to be good value or excellent value. An 8215 is okay value, but I really think it's a disappointment because the rest of the finishing, the specification and the build's quality and quality control are all good. 30 meters is good. for a daily wear piece. Sapphire crystal in the exhibition caseback is good, and the finishing to the head of the piece, the bezel and the double dome sapphire crystal with AR coating is all good. I just think it needs a better movement to be good value or excellent value. So I'm going to recommend it to you for your consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Fiyta Space Shuttle watch. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.